Hi, good morning, good evening, namaskar. A very warm welcome to everyone joining us today for this exciting LinkedIn Live session, 2020X Vision Value Multipliers That Drive Success. Uh, Before we start, let's have some housekeeping notes. Please share your name and country in the comments box. Say hi to everyone, introduce yourself. Share your questions in the comments box for the speakers, and during the conversation, we are going to pick it from there. There's going to be a recording post this session, which is going to be live on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Twitter and Facebook. So you may watch the session with the recordings, on those recordings later on. We have been running a series on 20x Vision with AI, and we had a lot of learnings in those sessions. Apart from that, we had enormous opportunity to connect with industry leaders, understand from them in terms of the evolution that they are seeing from AI perspective, and considering the feedback that we have received and the session interest that we have seen, we have continued this series, and even today's session is also in line with the same series, wherein we are going to discuss value multipliers that drive success. Um, in today's rapidly evolving digital age, organizations can no longer rely on traditional linear methods to drive growth and profitability. We need a force multiplier, you would all agree, that can dramatically accelerate value creation across the entire business value chain. That force multiplier, which can have the ability to multiply efficiencies, optimize operations, turbocharge revenue engines, and spark new levels of innovation, all at an exponential scale. Can that be AI? Can that force multiplier be AI? So to address this, we have a power pack agenda lined up, beaming with visionary insights and pragmatic strategies to help you leverage the transformational potential value of value multipliers. And we'll explore if generative AI can be a force multiplier that can create exponential business value. So let me invite our distinguished speakers that we have today. Dennis, he's the founder and CEO of Roman Samba. We have Dr. Satyam, he's the CEO of Reignite Future. We have Atul, who is the SVP of Growth and AI at Quintus Global. So before we move forward, let me ask my distinguished speakers if they have anything to share with you.
Vish, I'm really excited. Looking forward to this session today. This is another nice link in the chain that you've developed for covering the AI spectrum. Thanks. Looking forward to it.
Thank you, Dennis. Dr. Satyam, Atul, do you have anything?
Sure, Vish. Excellent initiative. I think we see how much discussion is going on in these topics, and I think it's a great timing to have, especially discussion on value multipliers.
Thank you, Dr. Satyam.
Thank you, Dr.
Atul. And again, pleasure joining this session, Vish. Look forward to very good, interesting discussions. Obviously, I will share my perspective from business perspective, and what are the different use cases, and what is it that companies can do in terms of value creation, leveraging AI solutions. Over to you.
Thank you, Atul. So, let me take you through the structure of the session. That's how we have created a flow. So, me, I'm the host, Vishwendra. We are going to have a session from Dennis that's going to be on understanding value multipliers for business. Then we are going to have a spotlight session 1 with Dr. Satyam. That's going to be on forging the AI-powered future. Then spotlight 2 is going to be with Atul, and as he shared, so we would be covering, or we would be exploring leveraging AI to build capacity for growth and positive transformation. If you have any questions, for the speakers, do share that in the comments box. I will pick those questions from there, And if you're joining, as I shared earlier, do share your name and your country in the comments box, as that could be an icebreaker in terms of introducing yourself to the community here. When I think of value multipliers, I always think about rocket equation from physics. You might be familiar about rocket equation, but if you're not, I've shared a couple of slides from NASA here, which actually talks about rocket thrust equation. Rocket equation describes the principle of how much rocket performance is needed to achieve a desired change in velocity and direction. At its core, it highlights that incremental increases in rocket thrust create exponential increases in payload delivery and distance traveled. In other words, adding just a little extra force acts as a powerful multiplier. Now, you may be wondering why I'm talking about rocket science here when we are going to talk about business success. So bear with me for a moment. When we look at today's hyper competitive world, which is constantly disruptions, disruptive market environments, and we see incremental inputs and linear improvement just won't cut it anymore. We need an exponential thrust to really propel our organizations forward, and that's where the rocket thrust equation is a parallel to the force multiplier that we are going to be talking in today's session. Accenture did a story, and that's why I thought I'll share a slide from them. So they identified 4 different multipliers or 4 different levers. One is, of course, technology, then people, processes, data, and talent. And they actually, did this study. The name of that study is Fast Track to Future Ready Performance. And in this study, they highlighted these multipliers from the context of in terms of enhancing operations. And what they found out is that organizations applying all 4 multipliers in an integrated way can gain a 14.2x boost in moving up one maturity level in terms of operations and a 1.2x boost in profitability. So if you look at all these 4 multipliers or 4 levers, AI actually touches all these 4 levers, whether you talk about data or technology or even processes and talent. So we'll be talking about these multipliers as we move forward. But let me also begin with a question, just to understand a context from what a value multiplier is. So this question is for the audience. You could share your response in the comment box. You can either type A, B, C, D. These are 4 options which are there for this question. And the question is, from your perspective, what criteria do you use to define a value multiplier for a function or business? You can select the factor that you consider more critical or more crucial for your business or for your function, and you can pick the response. The response A is impact on revenue generation. If you can refer to the example of Amazon scaled their operations by introducing cloud computing through Amazon Web Services that has opened a parallel channel for revenue for them. Cost reduction efficiency, you may refer to Toyota introduce Toyota production system that emphasize lean manufacturing principles. Then there's a market differentiation, and a good example can be Apple that focus on product design, user experience, and ecosystem integration to command premium prices and maintain customer loyalty. Or if you think of any other option, then you can share that. So while we wait for your response, we'll move forward to the next session. I'd like to introduce Dennis, who is a visionary in tech and mastering Wall Street concepts and C-level messaging. Dennis, over to you.
Okay, Vish, thank you so much. Just waiting for my slides to. There we go. Okay. So if I could, and I'll go through these quickly because I'm very keen on hearing the doctor and Atul cover the subject in a lot more depth. So my area is sales enablement and messaging for the marketing people. And I use AI all the time, and I think it's appropriate. So I'm going to take a different one. You're doing rocket science about value multipliers, which I think is a very apt experience. I'm going to give everybody one from the banking industry. This is a typical brokerage house phenomenon. A brokerage house will do so many trades a day, and 80% of those trades, no issue whatsoever. But about 20% of those trades present a problem. And I don't expect anybody to know the expression DKs, but it actually means don't know. One brokerage house is saying, I don't know this trade, send it back, right? So that was the technical expression for trades that weren't going through effectively. They were called don't knows. Okay, interesting that the trades that went through fine were wonderful, but the DK trades were taken up or constituting 80% of the cost. 80% of the cost is coming from the DK trade. So if that's true, and you knew it was true, what would you do to go help this firm? Would you go try to get more trades? You could. Everybody always could use more revenue. Or would you help them with the DKs? Would you go in there and attack 80% of the cost? So this is like self-evident. I get that it's self-evident, but what's not self-evident is, but what if you didn't know this? Right? You're standing outside of a target account that you want to go after. That's a brokerage house, but you don't know what I just said. And why that's so important is it goes to research. If you skimp or skip on research as you start your go-to-market or any of your activities about your business model, I submit research is the place to start. So I'm going to stop here, Vish. We can come back to this later. Back over to you.
Thank you, Dennis. Thanks for setting the context here. Let me now invite Dr. Satyam. Sorry, I'm just sharing my screen here. Yeah. So let me now invite Dr. Satyam, who is going to, with whom I'm going to have a more of a Q&A session, wherein we are going to explore how to forge the AI-powered future. Dr. Satyam is a globally recognized leader and a pioneer in emerging technologies like quantum computing, data science, big data, analytics, and emerging technologies. He's a globally recognized leader. I understand he's one of the top 10 business leaders as per Forbes India, and he's also a SP distinguished leader. Dr. Satyam, would you like to share before anything about the AI? I understand, last time when we had a conversation, you said that you retired from AI. So do you want to share your perspective, considering the fact that now there's an evolution which is going on in terms of generative AI, and what is, how do you see this evolution moving forward? Dr. Satyam, we can't hear you.
I said good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, depending on where you are listening. Thanks, Vish. Yeah, it's true that, I've probably spent almost 20 years in the field of AI, both in academics as well as in the corporate world. And in my last stint, I was at the energy company as the chief data scientist and technology fellow, where I built the whole center of excellence for AI, digital, etc. And before that, I worked for internet companies, and my PhD is in quantum mechanics. And so, data has always played a great role, and you can't look at data without algorithms. And so hence, I've been doing that. And I feel that, this is a resurgence of AI in the terms that marketing people are using it. And if you see the articles, they will say AI is great, and then you will see some people will say AI will break down. So I think you have to be very careful about using this term. Even my undergraduate students know that AI is a subject. So let's keep it to a subject level, and then talk about the various algorithms and solutions that can be built. Then it becomes really meaningful and powerful. So in that sense, I think where we are today with the really emergence and the what I call the maturity of the computing technology, that we are actually seeing that its applications are really way beyond that we could have imagined 10 years ago. Right, when you just mentioned Gen AI, yes, data has always existed, but how many of us can actually really look at that data in the meaningful manner? Now you can just go to any of these portals and type a question and you get an answer, and you can read 50 research papers without reading them, right? Otherwise, when I did PhD, you had to go to the library, read every page of it, right? So there is there's certainly a difference, and I think the foundation is, one, availability of data that is easy. Second is the computing power that exists. Without computing power, we could not be doing this, whether it is cloud computing, whether it's going to be quantum computing in future. Hence the whole concept of quantum and AI is being talked about, and various frameworks that I am working on about it is important. So in order to really build the next generation, I retired from day to day of AI.
Okay. But considering your experience, what are the barriers that you see in the faster AI adoption? As currently it's been encouraged that everyone should be familiar with AI. If you are not familiar with AI, then that you might be missing a bus. But what is your opinion? In terms of what could be the barriers for AI adoption um, in the enterprise world?
I think there are a couple of them, right? If I look at it from my experience, one is just first is understanding the concept itself, right? The subject itself, and then its application is where, what am I trying to do? Is, am I trying to transform the current business? Am I planning to grow the business, or I'm actually just looking at some innovative solutions for the new challenges that we might see? From, if you'll break down this system into three classes, then your challenges are quite different. But one of the major challenges is, I feel, is the leadership of the organizations, right? Everybody seems to claim that they are AI experts because they have read 5 articles from the famous magazines. But that's not how it is, because if leaders don't know what they are trying to do, what is their focus, and then coming to Dennis's question, Dennis's comment on value multiplier, if you don't know how to change your business with value multipliers, then I think you can't lead an AI organization, right? And hence leadership is number one. And second is the talent, right? If I look at major industries, whether it's energy, manufacturing, they haven't really prepared their talent to take advantage of emerging technologies, right? Most of the people who worked whether it's in the cloud phase or whether it was the big data phase of Hadoops, most of the people who worked in these fields were actually self-trained, and and hence the leadership never actually trained these people on the fast evolving algorithmic science, if I want to call it that way. And now they are struggling with it, because even if you get computer science people, they still need to understand business, and the business people need to understand the computer science side of it, and that investment was not done, and that has been a big challenge. And the third one is, like, lot of companies claiming that they can do AI. They have thousands model, they have ensembles of model, they have platforms, everything. But those are just, if you want to call it the equation, as you were showing, now that equation has to be applied to a problem. Now if you are a consulting company, and you can develop the equation, but if you don't know which side of the business to apply, then you have a challenge. Hence, that knowledge of domain and that has to come together, right? So these tools have
Yeah.
to be really managed well and deployed in the right context.
Hmm.
So I think these three I would put it at the top. There are a few more, and those we can there like we will discuss if we can go into data silos and all those things. And data itself is a challenge. And which is really, for me personally, I feel it's funny that people keep talking about data challenges, right? Because this has been there forever. So why are we still talking about it? What have we done to take our data that existed 10 years ago to make it smart data, right? We are in the age of
Hmm.
real time. And if we are in the age of real time, then we need to make our data smart. Just talking about whether
Hmm.
data is not complete or data is no bad quality for last 10 years doesn't work.
Hmm.
So I think that's
No,
a
you're
big.
right. Yeah. Yeah. So, we also talked about the momentum in US market and India market. Last time you talked about that. The momentum is different when you look at US, India, or globally. Across various countries. So, how do organizations navigate that complexities? What level of momentum are we missing out? Other countries as compared to US or developed countries in terms of data governance or regulations or innovations.
Yes. So if you look at two parts, right? One is what's the momentum in various countries, or where at least I have experience with, and then the governance part, right? Uh, Typically, it's always the US which comes up with certain kind of regulations, even though US does not have a federal mandate. There are a lot of policies, and many states have their own policies, right, to govern these products of AI and use of AI, so to say. India, I think the Niti Aayog is working on certain things to replace the 2020 law, uh, and uh, and there are some guidelines from Niti Aayog about the proper use of AI algorithms, etc., and how it can be applied to different fields, especially that are important to the country, like education, agriculture, etc., right? And then of course Europe has been coming up with more and more guidelines. So if you look at if you synthesize all of it, it gets really complex very fast. So that's the
Hmm.
governance and regulation side. But if you look at the actual people trying to build some solutions, I think India especially, I feel, because if you just look at marketing size, right, the data that can be generated in India, no country can beat it, or a company can beat
Hmm.
it, right? It's large volumes of data can be generated in a very short time. So if you want to really build refined models, uh, which are which can actually change the course of a business, that is available to you. Whereas if you look at some smaller countries, even if you look just at the marketing domain, for example, some smaller companies only have population of 30 million, right? Or US is 300 million population divided, usable data 200 million, whatever it is. But if you look at India, the size is significantly larger. So if you really want to build refined models which are more accurate and which can give you more value, then you can actually build in India for many reasons, right? And hence the
Hmm.
desire to expedite the deployment of proper AI solutions in India is pretty large, and I
Hmm.
think opportunities to create value for businesses is much larger compared to other places. But again, I would say it depends on the domain, right?
Hmm.
But we have to be careful not to generalize the statement. But at the same time, if you look at what I call the business side of the world, it's probably much faster to adopt in India.
Right. No, you're right. So in terms of the market size and the data that this market can generate, that can be enormous. And if we are sitting on a pile of data which we can leverage in terms of building a force multiplier, then why not? So yeah, India has that advantage. But yes, there are some biases which are there in the systems. There's we heard about bias in US, US ecosystem. Then we heard about biases because of language, because of the culture nuances, some nuances which have been there.
See, biases are, if you rely on the data, biases come from there, right? So I have to tell you a funny story. That's like long time ago. We built algorithms to recognize if we upload our photo and match it to against the Hollywood or the Bollywood actors or actresses, right? And this is about, I'm talking about the year 2005. There were not, at that time, face recognition algorithms had only very small sample size. Whatever we did, because the sample size was so small, one of the person who is of US, and he would have, his photo will always match a Bollywood actress, not even Hollywood actress or actor. And that was a fail case. We tried for 6 months because the training data was not available at that time, and so we actually launched the product with that fail case, and that was a valid test, right? That you need more data to actually train the models. But today that's not the case, right? And hence, in India, for example, we can generate the data much faster and modify the models much quicker, which cannot happen in many other places. I think a couple of years back there was a story that China was trying to imitate smiles and facial expressions because they have been collecting huge amounts of data anyway, right? And so their models may be more accurate in that sense. But I think India is a great place for that in many ways. And if you look at the diversity, right, one of the areas that I really think which is generating now a lot of data is geospatial location intelligence, right? And in India, the diversity of the landscape, the activities that are needed from infrastructure to economic development to education, all those things can connect through this geospatial data very easily. Like water is a problem for India, water tables, and how do you actually analyze it, the national resources. So you start integrating these things, then it becomes even more powerful. Sorry for the long monologue.
No, thank you so much. But I think you talked about one aspect. The other aspect is there are these regulations that are coming up, right? So India has a regulation wherein it has asked tech enterprises not to adopt, LLM models before getting approval from the government. Similarly, Europe has passed a first law regulating AI, especially in terms of banning high risk uses of artificial intelligence and to respect European copyright law. Right. So, how do you see this impacting the innovation that's kind of taking place in the AI ecosystem?
I think I would really break this down into what are we trying to do, right? If we are talking about what is within there is a lot of opportunity just within the organization itself to take advantage of algorithms of AI. So that if you are actually doing internal work, there's less conflict with the regulations because you will be within those regulations. When it comes to leveraging data which is public and obtained from various places, that's when your copyright laws or data accessibilities things can can conflict with how you're trying to do it. So that's really need to be watched out, right? And then the third one is like, there will be always strategic projects within the countries, not just India but everywhere, where they would be doing certain things to for either national security or national resources. Those will be under a different umbrella of governance and regulation. So we should really look at these regulations in a very in terms of safety, privacy, and what is the need for the organization. Then I think we can all be compliant. Yes, it might reduce some of the speed of innovation because now you can't access a certain type of data. For example, if we look at the healthcare data, not every country is at the same level of sharing the data. Now, if you really want, if really world really wants to talk about personalized medicine, uh, then you need a multi-complex dimensionality of this data, and some countries may regulate certain part of that data. Then you really cannot achieve the goal of personalized medicine. So you have to really balance it out, and I think this will evolve. These as regulations will also evolve, because that requires education to the policy people, the lawyers, and all those people. They also need to understand how it is done.
Yeah, I think you are right. Regulation is going to be there because there has been a misuse of these technologies, and that's kind of increasing as we hear, some of these concerns from various part of the world. So last question that I have for you is, because we are short of time. So you also talked about, CIOs normally are dependent on vendors for most of their, adoption or deployment of technology. Almost, I think you shared a data, 60% of, 60% of the tech deployment in any enterprise is dependent on vendors. So how do you think CIOs can become more self-sufficient? In fact, I heard about yesterday there's a AI software engineer Devin that's been launched. So one single software engineer can deploy, can actually create a program. So how do you see that transition now, considering the fact that these AI capabilities are evolving?
Yeah, I think there will be certainly change in the way we actually look at how software is developed or how solutions are deployed. Again, I would really break this down in different kind of industries that we are doing, right? Certainly, I'm nobody will be comfortable in fully automated software developed and put out in a field like say Bombay High or something, right? You really need to test, validate and validate more before you can actually put anything in automation at an offshore platform, right? So there is that challenge will remain. But when it comes to say marketing, yes, if I put out a model that is not 100% accurate or not 100% good, you may lose couple of millions here and there, but you are not going to break things that cannot be recovered. So in that sense, you have to be very knowledgeable and saying what am I trying to achieve. And I think but at the same time, if you don't take advantage of these things, then you will be left behind for sure, right? If you want to look at understand examples, as I was saying about say personalized medicine, whether you want to look at the proteomics data or bioinformatics data, since I many years ago when I was the director of bioinformatics, the data was only few terabytes. Now it has gone into petabytes of each of these domains, from proteomics, genomics. Now, if you want to really combine, you have to leverage things that have been automated, right? Human beings can start developing from scratch, or organizations. Then you are unnecessary wasting resources. But the more important for organizations business is to have a core set of people within the company, not fully reliant on 100% vendors, because the knowledge, one of the concepts of business called wisdom of an organization, we don't talk about it. We talk about knowledge management, but wisdom of the organization is very important. And that can only happen when you have a core set of knowledgeable workers who know in and out of what's being done.
Mm. I agree. I agree. But thank you so much, Dr. Satyam. It was really insightful, and I'm sure people might have got this perspective that AI actually represents a potent exponential value multiplier that can dramatically amplify the output and impact of all our capabilities, resources and human capital investments. So let's move forward. We have another question for the audience, and that's in terms of what factors should drive prioritization when identifying processes, functions, right for AI implementations. So the four options are A, complexity and repetitiveness of tasks. B, potential for significant efficiency gains and cost savings. Availability and quality of data, that's C. And D is impact on customer satisfaction and experience. So which one would you feel it's a priority when you are trying to identify a process or function to begin implementation of AI? So do share your responses in the comments box. And while you share your responses, let me move to the next speaker, Atul. Atul is the SVP of Strategic Growth and AI Solutions at Quintus Global. So he's an enterprising business leader and tech enthusiast with over 35 years of experience in IT/ITES industry with global companies like Capgemini, Coal Technologies, Genpact, MX, Gillette, and later across multiple industry domains. So Atul, before we delve into some questions, would you like to answer the question that I've asked in my previous slide?
Yeah. See, in from a business perspective, right? I think I see two areas really leading the race in this, right? One is what I call it as the front end part of the business, and then the back end, right? Front end is all about customer engagement, customer experience, personalization, so on and so forth, right? And that also includes, by the way, customer service, right? Which is where a lot of companies are looking at solutions which are what we call as human assist or agent assist kind of solutions, right? And on the back office side, I think operations, anyone with a huge, team of operating associates, right? Gen AI solutions is a very, it's a ripe area for opportunity for deploying AI solution, right? So I would I think it was B and D, but what I'm seeing is that, in fact, there was a study from Gartner and BCG which said 86% of initiatives, projects, AI projects which are coming up now are falling in these two buckets, which is, customer facing initiatives, and then second is on the efficiency drivers, right? And the reason is that, you certainly want to improve your customer engagement, right? Because it straight away boils down to growth and revenue and your top line growth, right? And if your customer satisfaction, customer engagement moves up, it has a straight fall through to your profitability as well, right? Efficiency comes second, because when I say second, not in terms of, but just the other bucket, right? It allows you to make sure that you're utilizing your talent, very well. Number one. Number two, the organization, you have the best performers, the middle layer, which is kind of, actually the load bearers, I call them, right? which actually runs the organization. Then there are tail enders, right, which are really not up to the mark, and they're taking time to, right? But deployment of these solutions can actually bring those people at the tail end into the mid bucket, and mid bucket into, in fact, you can over a time you will see that everyone is kind of performing pretty well, right? So it has its own implications. But I would say those are the two areas where I would put the money on.
Okay, all right. No, I think you're bang on. I think the efficiency, cost savings, and customer are the three areas that the people are certainly looking at. But what is also important and critical is the availability of data. And what we discussed with Dr. Satyam is that data could be an oil to these technologies which are going to be adoption. But thank you so much. We also got a response from Sheechan Prajapati. he mentioned A. So that is true in some context, wherein you have to address complexity and repetitiveness of tasks. So that's where the adoption of AI is very easy. Okay, so Atul, I understand you have been, in the always in the front in terms of leading functions and sales engagements. So, what pragmatic strategies could you share in terms of, leveraging AI to increase revenue or build organizational capacity for growth?
Yeah. So, see, one of the things which one should understand is that you have to have good data, right? And reality is, while Dr. Satyam touched on that topic, right? Evolved companies will have people like Dr. Satyam, or chief data officer kind of roles, right? Where, because they probably understand and appreciate the value of data which own, right? But a lot of
Hmm.
times that is not the case, right? I mean, how many companies will have CDOs, right? Even if you pick up Fortune 2000 companies, you will find, I don't know the statistics to be honest, but I don't think many companies will have CDO kind of a role. It's something which is kind of now, it's picking up. People are understanding, and the boardrooms are understanding and appreciating that, yes, we need someone with that, vision and thinking, who can kind of organize this whole on the data side, right? And then the other thing is tools and technologies, right? What tools and technologies, so far we were talking about, hearing about LLMs. Now they're calling up small language models, because for a particular use case, you don't want you know uh, you have to have the right kind of you don't want to spend too much money in terms of going after a large LLM solution, when you can do it with a small language model, right? So that's the second thing, right? So in my view, I think, assuming that these two things are sorted out, right? And today I think, Quintus Global, provides AI solutions. We help clients in terms of helping in terms of, like, you heard, right, that you need functional experts, right? You need
Hmm.
functional experts, domain experts with knowledge of technology, right? That's where you can rely on a vendor or a partner, and they can bring those solutions on, right? So talent, the expertise you can borrow, and over time you can develop your in-house talent, and work on those, right? I would still say that from value creation perspective, um, it's best to, and again, I mean, when clients come to us, we don't, always say, okay, you start here or you start there, because it depends on the context of the company, right? If you're talking to
Hmm.
a retail company vis-a-vis a manufacturing company, you will, treat them differently, and you'll come up with a different solution, right? Or you will say, okay, these are the use cases for you which are relevant for you, right? But generally speaking, I would still go back to the fact that anything which is customer facing, sorry, anything which is customer facing, customer engagement, um, Gen AI solutions can really significantly help you in terms of growing in your growth initiative. It can improve your customer retention, it can improve engagement, it can improve their experience. In fact, there was an interesting case study which I read, right? That by deploying right kind of AI agent assist solution, right? Company is able to, and this is not something which was anticipated. This was unanticipated, right? So like I said, the tail enders moved up, and performance became more consistent, right? Now, in typically any kind of customer service organizations, you have a escalation level, right? Oh, I'm not happy with your answer. Put your manager on the line, right? That went out. That completely disappeared, or got very minuscule, right? So that capacity got freed. Now those people could be
Hmm.
deployed in another area, right? Depending on whether Atul likes, to do product development, or maybe customer account management, So you can then leverage that capacity to do something more, right? So you are driving efficiency as well as because customers are getting better service, right? um, Agent assist is also helping them in terms of doing better cross selling or upselling,
Hmm.
right? So you see improvement in revenue, right? So that's just one example where both efficiency as well as the top line revenue growth also happen, right? And then the third
Right.
thing is that managers who used to spend earlier time on giving coaching and feedback to tailenders, right?
Hmm.
People who were not performing up to the mark, they all of a sudden had more time and they could actually do more stuff which HR is supposed to do, which is training, development, coaching, and making sure that you have the right policies and engagement, employee engagement act. So huge benefit across the organization, right? So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, it does. It does. In fact, I see a comment from Suresh saying, correct, that Zoom Foods, we are deploying AI chat assistant to free up support staff to do other things. So yeah, you got a evidence here. So while you talked about customer experience, do you also see AI role in terms of driving product development, innovation that can actually create more enhanced value for customers? Do you have any examples which you'd like to share or any insights here?
So let me give you another example which is close to my heart, right?
Hmm.
On finance, right? Now, I know AI and finance, the moment, the combination comes, all of a sudden you're thinking in terms of, what could be the use cases there, right? So there are many times, sales teams comes back to, and especially in large organizations where I've worked, right? You're trying to sign a $500,000 or multi-million dollar contract, right?
Hmm.
And you need to make sure that your revenue recognition, your contracting terms, all those things are rightly incorporated in the contract, right? So there is a contracting person, there is a legal risk management, from a risk perspective, there is a business guy, there is a finance guy. The whole team is kind of involved in that whole, and that cycle can take a couple of weeks to months, right? Now imagine if you have a Gen AI solution which can look at all the past contracts which have been signed, right? And reality is that yes, you will go back down the memory lane saying, okay, what kind of, did we sign any similar kind of contract? But no one has time to go through it, right? Finance guy will think, okay, legal guy will do it. Legal guy will think, okay, sales guy will do it. No one actually. But if you have a Gen AI solution, and then there is a whole lot of back and forth, emails going, this needs to be corrected, we want the recognition to happen in Q4, don't push it to Q1 next year, etc., right? Usual. But all that can be streamlined if you have a Gen AI solution which says, okay, you know what, now again, like we talked about biases and so so there has to be a human element here, right? But at least 90% of the work can be actually be done by Gen AI, right? And 10% is where the finance and sales guys can look at it, and within probably while the case study actually talked about that this could happen in hours, but even if you take days, right, look at the time and effort which has been saved. The sales guy can then, instead of spending time on contracting and being on calls, long calls, 1 hour 2 hour calls with four of his colleagues, his or her colleagues, can now spend that much time with the customer, in terms of reviewing the projects, looking at new projects, new opportunities, etc. So huge benefit on that. Finance
True.
guys are able to say, okay, why was I getting involved in all these transactional things, right? Transactional aspects are taking, he just needs to review, saying, okay, fine tune this point, and then the finance guy has a better things to do, right? So they
Yeah,
are happy,
yeah,
sales guys are happy, and legal guys are happy because they don't have to break their head on different contracting terms because AI has already done the homework for them. So just a
exactly.
cross
Yeah.
example. And then there are others, and I
breaking
think
down silos and yeah,
you can look at
yeah, and
forecasting.
usually,
Forecasting is another thing.
mm,
Product development could be another one, but I don't recall any straight examples on that. But I think
sure.
it just depends in terms of what the use case is.
Yeah. Okay. No, thank you so much, Atul. We are short of time, so let me have Dennis back here. I have a couple of questions for him as well. Dennis, you have been listening patiently. I know, and you are leveraging AI a lot. Especially in terms of research, in terms of building programs. So, what do you have to add here,
Well, I would
specifically
certainly,
from
yeah, thanks, Vish. I would certainly endorse the doctor's point about it starts at the top. I mean, I can't tell you how many decades I've been doing this sort of thing I'm doing. And right from the beginning, it seemed that was the statement we were making then. It starts at the top. If the top's not engaged, the likelihood that your project is either going to happen or happen successfully deteriorates quickly if it's not actually endorsed at the top. Now, doctor kind of hinted that it could start at the top, but if they don't know what they're doing either, they could be committed but uninformed. And this AI thing, when you're a data scientist like the doctor, he can go back decades and say, we were working on this then, we were working on this then. But for all intent and purposes, the world has been captured with it's taken our breath away, the speed at which this hockey stick has been going up in the AI marketplace. It's like a tsunami coming at us. And what I'm finding is the marketing people, who is my primary audience, I would say, are trying to move heaven and earth to not get ahead. The train left and we're all trying to get on the train. So even though it may have started long back, many of us are really, really playing catch up, which I think might actually lead us, Vish, to our next session that we're going to be running in April about intelligent prompting. You could have AI. I'll tell you, I ran AI the other day to make up a picture for me, and I said I wanted a picture of a stockbroker or a research analyst, and I gave it some specifics, and it gave me an answer. Well, the answer it gave me was very nice. I told it I actually wanted a guy with suspenders for obvious reasons, because I was going to use it for my own business. And the AI came right back and gave me a guy with suspenders. Of course, the suspenders were outside of his suit jacket. They weren't under the suit jacket. They were on top of the suit jacket. Well, if you don't know that's not the right dress code, you might accept that picture and run with it. I know it's a crude example, but when you add the sophistication of what AI is capable of, the subtleties can go right over our head. Should that decimal point be here or there? And is it metric, or is it US sizes? And those little nuances could spell the doom and gloom. You could end up in China when you really wanted to go to Yugoslavia. I mean, it's a phenomenon. So I really like the remarks from Atul as well. I thought the guys did a really yeoman's job of explaining to us some use cases, and I don't know, I'll call it a predicament. We're in a predicament because it's almost impossible to keep up with what's going on right now. It's exponential. It's not arithmetic. So I think sessions like this, Vish, are well intentioned, and I think they're providing a value resource for our audiences.
Well, thank you so much, Janice. I think what you covered is it's really insightful, especially in terms of marketing and the kind of critical areas that one should not miss out in their journey on AI. Do you have a couple of slides more? Do you want to share those slides now, or
Sure, I could do that.
shall I?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll do that very quickly. Okay, so so my point here is research is where it starts. We have an all too eager audience in the general marketplace that wants to get into the details and not realizing that potentially research might be the most important aspect to use AI for, that the research is hypercritical. I'm not talking about academic research. I'm talking about how to go find clients that you could sell stuff to. So it becomes most valuable when it's actionable. And if a sales guy gets assigned to an account, here's a picture of Roman's numbers. This is an AI generated picture. My building is not quite that big or attractive, believe me. So he's trying to look in and figure out how he's going to get started. What he really wants is to be able to up here look right in the windows. How do I look right into this company and figure out where I can contribute? If I could give that example, like it's which countries, which sectors, which industries, which companies, which lines of business, all of this is pragmatically achievable with doing robust research at the beginning. These are not hidden elements that we need a brain surgeon to figure out. All of this is easily picked off of trees if you know how and which trees to pick from, right? And I submit, if you take that approach, the classic old funnel, which is fat at the top and narrow at the bottom, using AI as the guiding hand here, you could actually end up with this approach, a very narrow funnel at the top, which has got hyper qualified opportunities or potential opportunities with potential corporations to go after, and save yourself all the effort of going after people who are probably never going to find your stuff of interest. So that's it, Rich. Accounting is the language of business. My flag is always flying for research. Research at the front end to set your path. Because if you take the slightly wrong navigation path, you could end up anywhere. You want to get to China and you're in Japan now. I'm in the middle of watching Shogun on TV, so I think that's where I got that one from. Thanks, Vish.
Well, thank you, Dennis. Since you talked about accounting, I have one question to all of you: is how would leadership measure and quantify the value multiplier effect of their AI strategies? So, do you have anything to add, especially in terms of what metrics leadership should have?
Without measuring the value or quantifying value, I think we are on the wrong path, right? Already. So as a leader, you already know what is, from your tacit knowledge, you should know what you are going to either save, increase efficiency, accuracy, whatever it is, right? And if you don't know, then you are already starting on a wrong foot with an AI solution. Hence, yes, you may estimate that I'm going to generate $10 million worth of revenues by applying these kind of algorithms on these kind of data sets. But okay, at the end of the day, you are able to say generate 5 million, which is not zero. So I think one is having an idea as a leader, like what am I expecting? And that is, if with your experience as a leader, you should have that kind of vision. And if you don't have that kind of vision, then it's time to move out, because the goal is to grow the business. And in order to grow the business, you have to take some estimates. And those could be, and if you are not zero, then you are successful.
I would just add to that, Dr. Satyam. I think wish we all know about baselining, right? So it's always good to baseline. And in business, I think, and in the previous webinar, we did touch upon that. 80% of the projects fail, when it comes to in the business domain, right? Why? Because something or other will not work, right? And you may not get the desired results, right? Now that doesn't mean that you don't have to try, right? But you still have to try. And you will probably, in some cases, you will see incremental, some projects will probably fail. But baselining is important, right? If you're looking at customer engagement, customer experience, NPS scores, or efficiency, utilization, capacity, you're running 500 people team spread globally. How can you use AI to figure out, okay, what is my potential here, right? So again, I think important to baseline whatever project you choose. I think you should be able to put a number to that. and then take it from there.
I think thank you so much. If I summarize here, I would say, there are three areas. While you talked about revenue, I would also recommend reach and coverage that multipliers can actually help you drive. And these are three elements that you can actually monitor, measure as you move forward, as you deploy AI technologies. In terms of value multipliers, we have what I see is while we talked about technology, but there's also a human layer which is involved, which is important. So that's where the experts come into play, and then you have very clearly defined go-to-market. If I have shared one more data set that's from McKinsey, and they actually shared an incremental enhancement in sales and marketing that AI can can be there and can provide the needed trust for the business. So if you look at the data which they have shared, so what they mentioned is, there's actually the Global Pulse survey which they have done in 2023, and that was to highlight the top B2B market leaders. If they employ 5 key strategies, which are advanced sales tech, hybrid teams, hyper personalization, marketplace strategies, and e-commerce pricing, the tactics could actually have twice an impact as compared to the to those organizations who are not doing it, and that can actually lead to 10% market share growth. So that's the data that they shared, and that's an evidence of, if you deploy value multipliers, that's going to add a lot of value in terms of your revenues, in terms of your bottom line, and also in terms of the way you see your future in 2020x. So with this slide,
a question.
Yeah, Atul, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask a question to you and Dennis. From a marketing perspective, how do you see marketing coming in as value multiplier, right? I mean, obviously the analysis and McKinsey report is saying that, but give us a real life example where you have seen that.
In fact, there are many examples from the perspective of marketing. If you look at the creative that's been generated, there's the creative can actually relate with the customer sentiment. If you have the data, you can create creatives on the basis of that, and you can deploy those creatives to promote your organization. Apart from that, there's a lot of intelligence which organization can access, either in terms of market data, customer data, and you can personalize your communication on the basis of the intelligence that you have built through. In fact, that's what we would be talking about in our next session, which is how you can leverage prompt to create more enhanced business outcomes. But there's a lot of use cases. In fact, most of the use cases that I've seen, especially in generative AI, are primarily in marketing, sales and marketing. But of course, you did talk about customer service. Dr. Satyam did talk about the usage in life science and healthcare and ESG and sustainability. So those industries are also being impacted through the adoption of generative AI, and we are going to see that adoption moving across all the industries moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think it was a wonderful conversation that we had today, and I believe by now audience would have understood the context of rocket equation that I talked about initially. So next session we are going to have is it's on 18th of April, Thursday 18th of April, and it's going to be AI powered business outcomes with informed prompts. We'll share more details about this session moving forward, but please block your calendar. We'll share the link where you can register so that you can get all the information, notification about that event. But thank you so much to all my distinguished speakers today. Dr. Satyam, thank you so much for taking out your time and sharing your insights here. Atul, thank you so much for joining again this session. and we hope to see you more in our future sessions. Dennis is my partner in crime, especially in these sessions. This is idea, and we are running with this idea month on month, and we are getting very good traction. So thank you, Dennis, for your involvement and sharing your insights here. Thank you so much. So I look forward to seeing you in our next session, which is on 18th of April. Thank you.
All the
Thanks,
best.
Vish.
Thanks.
Wonderful.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.